Call the meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody here again. Calling Councillor Penner to bring the opening, please.
Why, thank you. I want to take a few minutes today to just share maybe a little bit of how I got involved in City Council. One of the questions I've received many times over the past few months is, how did you end up on council? And I guess many people assume because I grew up in a house where my dad was always involved in politics, whether that was on city council or school division prior to that, and also with the Conservative Party. I guess maybe people thought that kind of my whole life I just premeditated that I wanted to somehow get involved in politics one day. But that actually isn't the case. I actually determined not to get involved for many years because growing up you see the ups and downs and the highs and lows that come with running in elections, and so I thought, that's you got to have a thick skin for that. It's gonna be a tough life. Then I guess it was 2009. It was just prior to the 2010 civic election. Something in me shifted, and I thought, I want to get involved in politics in some capacity. But I hadn't actually thought it would be city council because at that time my dad was still on council and he hadn't said he would not be running again. So I just thought I'd think about it and wait to see what happened. And then shortly after that, he told me that he was not going to be running. And so after a few months of thinking about it, I thought, well, maybe that is where I should get my feet wet, as it were, and run for it. And I talked to numerous people. My husband was supportive, and so I ended up running. And fortunately, I was elected. Then shortly after I was elected, during the first few years I was elected, I wasn't actually Susan Penner. I was Art Rempel's daughter. So when I bumped into people, it was always, are you Art Rempel's daughter? Are you Art Rempel's daughter? The ironic thing is, I can count on one hand probably how many times my dad and I have actually talked about politics or city council issues since I've been elected. That once he was done, he was done. And there's times when even I've pursued, like, what do you think? And he's, you know what, you do your own thing. But for many years, I kind of felt like, not necessarily in his shadow, but I was his daughter. Well, what's been interesting to me this fall, and maybe a positive outcome of all that's been happening with council this fall, is my dad recently called me and he said, Susan, I can't even tell you how many times in the last few weeks people have asked you, are you Susan Penner's dad? And I was like, yes, finally, I've arrived. So I just wanted to share that story. It's interesting how, it's taken a few years, and not that I wanted to be out of his shadow. I think he did a great job. But it's interesting now as time's has gone on, I've shifted from Art Rempel's daughter to now he's Susan Penner's dad. So we laugh about that quite a bit. That's just what I want to share.
Councillor Penner, thank you. That's a great opening. And there's a few of us who've followed in the shadow or in the aftermath of our parents, including myself, and probably some of you even have had those experiences. But it is a different experience. So take solace that you now have something in common with Justin Trudeau as well.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Please don't ever say that again.
I don't want to take
I'm
away.
just kidding.
I'm not taking away.
No. I'm just joking.
All right. Council, we have the agenda in front of us. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Funk. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. We have the minutes from October 20th in front of us. Can I have a motion to approve, please? Councillor Swagster, moved by Councillor Funk. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Can I have a motion to excuse Councillor Carrie Penner today? Thank you, Councillor.
She is.
Councillor Funk. She's on business.
No, I'm just...
Seconded by Councillor Fair. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. There's no business arising from the minutes. We have no public hearings. So we'll move to our delegation, and we have Tami Thiessen here today. She's from the Canadian Cancer Society. She requested to speak with council in regards to an important topic, and so Tami, I'll ask you to take the podium. These meetings are recorded, both on camera as well as audio, and so if you can remain at the podium when you speak, so that the people at home, when they do watch these videos, that they can actually hear you and hear your message as well.
Okay, perfect.
Welcome here.
Okay, thank you so much. So, like you said, I'm Tami Thiessen, and I work for the Canadian Cancer Society, and I'm the Southern Manitoba rep. So my area is, I actually live in Morden, and my area is from like Crystal City, Cartwright, all the way to Steinbach and Sprague. Yeah, so I've got quite a big area. I'm going to hand out a few handouts here really quickly. Just, there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Pass them around to you.
Okay, that would be great.
They're two different ones.
Yeah, so radon is a really big concern in southern Manitoba. And what radon is it's a radioactive gas that occurs naturally in our soil. It's not anything caused by farmers' chemicals or anything else. It's a naturally occurring gas, and it causes lung cancer. So I'm just going to go through a little slideshow here. This gentleman, his name is Sandy Hutchinson, and he works for a company called Radon Matters and through Health Canada. And what we would like to do, what I'm actually also wanting to present, is that at some point, it maybe in this winter, I could come and do an open house in Steinbach for the general public, for contractors, healthcare workers, pretty much anybody, I guess, and give out more information that way. And Sandy may be available to come at that point and also answer any questions and give a talk on it. So we'll go through this slideshow, basically to learn more about radon, the awareness. So radon is colorless, tasteless, and odorless. You wouldn't know that you have it in your home. You could have a very high incident of it in your home and you would possibly never know it. It's a radioactive uranium gas, and it's measured in becquerels per cubic meter. That means nothing to me. So unless you're a scientist, I suspect it doesn't actually mean a whole lot, but that's the chemical formula of it. So these are ways that it'll enter into your home. It'll come up through a sump pump, it'll come through a crack in the foundation, through some floor joists. It's a gas. It'll rise. It'll find a way to get in. And the only way to know is to test, and that's basically the scientific part of it. It is a known human carcinogen. It is cancer causing. And what happens is you breathe it in, and the particles attach to your lungs, and that over time will cause lung cancer. I have a friend who has stage 4 lung cancer. He was never a smoker. He's a non-smoker, and they are attributing his cancer to radon. So basically, Health Canada right now is saying that if you're a non-smoker and you get lung cancer as a primary cancer, it'll be from radon. And they're also saying that that is the only thing that radon causes, is lung cancer. It doesn't cause other cancers, it doesn't cause other health risks. The trouble is, if you are a smoker and you have high incidence of radon, it multiplies by about 8 times the risk. So as you can see in the pictures there, if you're a smoker and you have high radon, it's a 1 in 3 chance that you will get lung cancer. If you're a non-smoker and have high radon, it's 1 in 20. So yeah, it goes up significantly if you are a smoker. So these are stats from 2013. There will be 870 new lung cancer cases, 680 deaths. 150 of those will be attributed to radon. And this is just in Manitoba. So I'll just fill that chart in. Oh, did I go to? No. So as you can see, as it rises, so there's 200, 400, or 800 becquerels per cubic meter. Obviously, the higher the level, the greater chance of getting lung cancer. So if you test your home and you have levels over 200 becquerels per cubic meter, then they're saying you need to have some remedial measures taken. And we'll see what those are. And as you can see, Manitoba, next to New Brunswick, is the highest across Canada. And actually, I believe that they're going to change the little pamphlet, or the little thing that I gave you, there's a map on there, and it'll show that more of the western area of Manitoba, Brandon area, they would have basically almost every other home is going to test high in radon. For us, it's 25%, so 1 in 4. I believe that within a year or so, those numbers are going to reverse, and southern Manitoba is going to be higher. And the reason I believe that is because I've sold a lot of kits in the southern Manitoba area, and I would say 90% of those have come back high. So it's very concerning. Manitoba Health and Radon Matters together have looked at those results. They receive them. The test actually comes, we send the test kit into a lab, and then the results go directly to them, and then they forward it back to me. So they see all these results, and they're actually very, very concerned about it. So I suspect down the road, southern Manitoba will be the highest across Canada with radon levels. Again, there's the map that shows southern Manitoba is 26% of homes, but I really think that's going to reverse with Prairie Mountain down the road. There we go. Yeah, so that's again just the same statistics. Now, as of 2011, if you've built a new home, the guidelines for construction are that the rough plumbing has to be put into place already to fix if there's going to be a radon problem. So as of 2011, all homes should have that already rough plumbed. I'll get to a slide that'll show you a little bit more of, these are building codes. Okay, whoops, I'll go back one. So what they basically want to do is they'll come in and put in a depressurization, subfloor depressurization system. So basically what it is, I'm not a plumber, but they'll drill a big hole through your foundation. They'll put in some plumbing. In amongst that plumbing, there's a fan. So what the fan will do is it'll suck up the air and the gas from underneath your home, and then it'll filter it out of the home. So I have seen in Morden, there have been results. So 200 becquerels per cubic meter is what you want to be under, and I've seen results as high as 1900. Then they've come in and they've done the remediation, and they have brought it down to 15. So it's a pretty foolproof way of getting rid of the radon out of your house. And 9 times out of 10, that is what they will do. They'll also go around and they'll seal your sump pump and seal any cracks or anything else they see, but they'll want to be putting in the depressurization system because that's pretty much a guarantee to correct the problem. Oops, I'll just go back one. So test kits are inexpensive and easy to use. Okay, that's again showing the pumps, just the depressurization system. I might be clicking too fast. Okay, yeah, so they'll be sealing it off. And that's a picture of the actual pump, what it looks like. Okay, so again, you can't smell it, you can't see it, and you can't taste it. The only way to know is to take a test. I've brought along, I can't really open it because it's sealed inside here, but you can see, if I just hold it up, it's very small. It actually is about the size of a film canister. When we used to have film in our cameras, it's about that size. And all you do is you set it up on a shelf somewhere, you forget about it for 3 months to 12 months, anywhere from 3 months to a year, and then mark it on your calendar, send it away at that time, and within a month you'll get a reading back. So it's very inexpensive. Home hardwares, most home hardwares sell them. They will sell short-term and long-term kits, but we definitely recommend a long-term kit. A short-term kit could possibly give you a high high positive or a low positive, or a false high or a false low. You want to get an average. And generally the best time to test is right now in the wintertime when you have your house sealed up and not a lot of fresh air is coming in and out. That'll give you the, I guess, the worst reading, but that's sort of what you want to know. So yeah, it's inexpensive. We sell them through the Cancer Society for $30. That includes the lab testing, getting the results back and everything. So it's an inexpensive test. They were more expensive, but we've definitely are wanting more and more people, or as many people as possible, to test their homes. So we've made it basically affordable to everybody. So living in a home with high levels of radon for many years will increase your risk of lung cancer. And that is basically it. Are there any questions on that?
All right. Well, thank you very much. Council, questions? Councillor Swagstra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In terms of the remediation, like the pump and all that, what is a typical cost?
It's roughly between $2,500 and $3,000. About a year ago, within this last year, Manitoba Hydro, though, has come out with a payment option that they will fund it. You have to pay it back. I know we did our central air that way about 15 or 20 years ago, so we paid an extra $40 a month on our hydro bill for X number of years, and they will do that same type of a program for you. So if you can't put out the $2,500 right off the bat, they will help you fund it and spread it out over a number of years.
Further questions? Councillor Swagstra.
Do you have any preliminary information about like Steinbach specifically in terms of, do you have access to that in terms of like within this city, how many homes have tested high?
You know what, I probably could get that information, yes. I don't have it right now.
That would be good to know if that's easily available.
It would be easily available, yes. Yeah, for sure.
Councillor Fair.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. When you, in the book here, it also talks about an HRV. If you have the HRV, does that take care of that as well?
It
or is
wouldn't
that just
take care of it, but it would help.
Okay.
Yeah, it would help, but it wouldn't take care of the problem altogether. Yeah.
When it comes to the gas itself, does it dissipate easily? Is it that it's, especially in winter, that it's trapped in your home and that it gets concentrated? Is that what a major concern is?
Yeah, that is definitely the concern. And then once it gets filtered out, it's not like aim it at your neighbor that you like the least or anything. It'll pretty much dissipate in the air. There can be radon in the water supply as well, but apparently that's not a concern because you drink it and out it goes. Whereas with what causes the lung cancer is when you breathe it in and it attaches to your lungs. So that's a bigger concern than drinking it. Apparently isn't a problem.
Councillor Penner.
Does it impact, like for asthmatics or that type of thing, does it have any impact?
I don't
impacts the lungs?
think so. But having said that, I have a massage therapist who is very in tune with her body and how she feels and all of the workings of the human body, I guess, or whatever. And she feels sick when she's in her home. For years and years, she said, since they moved into this house that they're living in, she has felt sick while she's been in the house. As soon as she goes outside, she feels better. So I tested her home for radon, and it was about 1,700 becquerels per cubic meter, which is super high. And she wasn't surprised at all. She said, I knew it. She got the problem fixed. She's one of the ones that brought it right down to about 12 to 15, and she feels so much better. So it's odorless, colorless, tasteless. Supposedly you wouldn't know that you have it in your house, but some people may notice a difference, and I'm not so sure about asthma actually. But
further questions? When it comes to why here is maybe a good question, and so my understanding is that it's because of the uranium or some sort of minerals that are underneath our soil.
Something that occurs naturally in the soil. Yes. And like I said, I'd love to come at some point this winter and do a presentation for the general public. We have applied to the Steinbach Area Foundation for a grant to help us put that on, and I believe their deadline is at the end of this year. So we'll find out in the next month or two if we would get a grant for that.
Very good. Sorry, how much did you say the test was again?
The test is $30.
$30. Mm-hmm. And it's simple, you can just send it
Very
away
simple. You set it up somewhere where it's got clearance all the way around, like a foot of clearance, all the way around. It's not too close to a wall or anything like that, and just kind of forget about it and send it in down the road.
That's good. Nothing further, Council? Well, thank you for the information. It's very good information for us to have, and it's good for the public to have as well.
You bet.
Obviously, we look forward to having seeing that open house
Yeah.
transpire here in our city, and certainly if you do want participation from council members at that time, please send us that request.
I will definitely do that for sure.
And we'll get back to you. But it's good to hear this information. We want to have a healthy community.
Yes,
And it
that's-
sounds like remediation is fairly simple, although
Yeah.
it is 25.
It's a little bit costly, but yeah. But when you think of, the health of your family. Yeah, and I mean, the mandate for the Canadian Cancer Society is to eradicate cancer, and this is one that is possible to prevent, so.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for allowing me to come.
All right, Council, just have a question for administration, a follow-up to this information. Mr. Warkentine, 2011, this is a requirement that it's plumbed in to take care of radon, is that correct? But it's not active necessarily.
If that is according to the National Building Code, that is one of the building codes that the city does subscribe to, as well as Manitoba.
So then all buildings in Steinbach after 2011 would have it, if that is in that building code?
If that is in fact the case, yes. And that would be administered as part of the regular building permit process that the city administers.
Good. Thank you. All right. Council, we have no reports or recommendations from the city manager at this time. We have the accounts payable in the back of the book. Can I have a motion to approve the accounts payable, please? Councillor Funk, second by Councillor Fair. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have the financial statements ending September 30th. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Siemens. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have the excavator licenses on page 3. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Fair, second by Councillor Funk. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have the Board of Revision minutes on page 7, and Council, thank those people on the Board of Revision when you see them. That was a long meeting. 12:19 is when they left the building. Oh, after midnight. So they had an extensive day there, and we appreciate the work that they did. They looked at these objectively and came up with solutions and decisions. So on page 15, we do have a resolution accepting the recommendations of the board. How does council wish to proceed? Councillor Spikestra.
Make the motion, we accept the recommendation.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Siemens. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly agree that we thank the Board of Revision for their work. This was the longest meeting that I've ever seen in terms of the Board of Revision, a number of items. I did want to ask a question of the city manager, I could, because there were a number of items where the assessment was reduced, most of them not by a huge amount, but I'm wondering, is there a preliminary, do you have some, in terms of the impact it has on our budget, do we have a rough estimate for that, for how much some of those reductions will have in our budget for the upcoming year, or has that not been tallied at this point?
That information I do not have available. Just as a further addition to that comment, there was a number of decisions that the Board of Revision also confirmed. However, my understanding is that there is an intention to appeal to the municipal board. So the impact of those further pending public hearings through the municipal board may yet have further impact that the city won't be aware of for some time yet.
Just a follow-up just on my, this is a lot of items, and this is more than what we usually have. I mean, the city manager, of course, you were at that meeting. What was do you have a general reason for why there were so many that were appealed, and was there a general theme in terms of what was happening here?
As far as the overall makeup of the appeals, of the total properties initially appealed, I believe there was about 80 in total. Of that total, only about a dozen were residential properties. The balance were commercial or industrial. The vast majority of the commercial industrial appeals involved the use of consultant, professional agency that provides representation for these businesses. So there was, as far as the arrangement that was there, presumably there was an opportunity that business owners and property owners felt that there was an advantage. And again, the second part is this was an overall provincial reassessment year, and as such, the changes to the proposed assessment aren't necessarily due to any physical changes that may have been done to the property, but are as a result of an overall change in the market value assessment and opinion from the provincial assessor's office. So when those assessment changes happen, they tend to generate more interest and the likelihood of more appeals. Finally, of those original 80 or so appeals, approximately half were settled or withdrawn before the meeting occurred. So there is always an opportunity for further negotiation with the representatives of the assessment branch so that there can be a mutual agreement reached for assessed values. The remaining appeals that were heard by the board were just files that were not able to be resolved prior to the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Fair.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Further to that, I think what happened was that there was a company that bought out another company, and they just, I think they wanted to have a presence felt, and I think that they hit every business in town. And whenever somebody gives you an opportunity, you're going to take it. And I know they called me as well, and I said, well, you can have a look at my, I sent them my information, and in fairness to them, they looked at mine and they said, you know what, it's really not that far out from where we think it should be, so if you want to, you can, but I don't think we'd waste our time with this one. So I thought that was an objective statement that they made, but I mean, they were really hard, hitting this area very hard, so whether they just picked Steinbach or I don't know, but I know that they called a lot of people here.
Very good. Further discussion? Anything in close? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. All right, we have 9E, bylaw 2059 on page 16. Mr. Workington, I'll ask you to just introduce this briefly and then we'll move forward with the first reading.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, this bylaw and special services plan relates to the residential curbside waste collection and disposal service that the City of Steinbach provides to its residential properties. This is a bylaw and fee structure that has been in place for many, many years in the city. As required under the Municipal Act, this special services bylaw does have a finite life. The current bylaw expires at the end of 2015. The proposed bylaw is to review and extend the special services plan for 2016 through to the end of 2018. There is a slight increase to the proposed rates that are being suggested. However, the rate of increase from year to year is approximately 2.4 to 2.5% over the term of the bylaw. Recommendation that council give it first reading, and if council wishes to proceed, public hearing is scheduled for the November 17th regular council meeting.
Thank you. The 2015 curbside, the residential curbside, do you have that dollar value?
That is currently $123.
123, so it's going from 123 to 126.
Correct.
And beyond. Okay, thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Penner? Move to approve first reading. Seconder? Councillor Siemens? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a modest increase that we are requesting, especially when you look at the small amount it is to begin with, but this just gives an opportunity for us to get public feedback, and depending on what we hear there, we can make a decision moving forward.
Very good. Councillor Siemens, anything further? Anything further from council? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. First reading is passed. Mr. Workington, when will that public hearing be?
That will be November 17th.
All right.
You won't be there.
9F, we have supplementary taxes added and cancelled on page 23. Council, you have quite a list, extensive list. The summary is on page 23. On page 45, we have a motion or two motions. We'll do them do them separately. One is the added taxes, and one is the reduction in the assessment or reduction in taxes. Can I have someone move the first motion, please? Councillor Spector.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will move the first motion here in terms of accepting the supplementary realty taxes.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Fair. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a result of new construction, there's usually supplementary taxes that take place every year. This is something that we partially budget for. Mr. Workington, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we budgeted $750,000 for a net increase, and so even when you factor out the tax cancellations, that does mean that we once again budgeted below what we're taking in, which is of course the appropriate way to budget. So, but this will certainly help with our overall process in terms of our budget.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything further from council? Anything closing? No. Council, obviously, this is significant dollars. We often have seen them approaching the $1 million mark in the last few years, and this one is over 1.3. That is significant added taxes. I think we want to recognize certainly that there's been a lot of building activity in the city over the last year or two, and that is reflected in this $1.3 million added taxes. And so we're grateful for the investment, and we'll continue to give superior services to all these properties to make sure that they get their money's worth through their realty tax. Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We now have a second resolution. Can I have someone move the other resolution, please? Councillor Siemens, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Penner. Go ahead, Councillor Siemens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the taxes that, because of changes in ownership or changes, we need to forgive taxes, or there's different assessments. It's a drop in assessments, and it is $252,000 approximately this year. So that is what we will not be collecting.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything in closing? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any questions of council? Being none, we have the correspondence and petitions. 11A, Epp Library minutes on page 46. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take that as information. We also have 11B. We have the Southeast Transition Initiative GreenSpace option, report number 1 on page 48. Any discussion? Mr. Workington, are we expecting this to continue in 2016?
Yes, the pilot program that was agreed to was for a 3-year period. This now represents the end of the first year.
Thank you. Obviously, they have plans for it, and we do too, so that's good. Thank you. We'll take that as information. There's no other business. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Fair. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.